On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, Alita Battle Angel 2, we're off to a great start, is now more likely than ever, says the director. Also, James Gunn has been announcing a couple of actors that are returning to the new DCU. Why isn't Margot Robbie one of those? Also, the question has to be asked. In Star Wars, has the John Favreau, Dave Filoni verse been in decline? And also, Loki! Season 2 starts tonight. What are the 5 keys to success for that season? That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good things, not just giving you our opinions, but giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different from ours. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Hello, everyone.
What? Jonathan Boyko's here.
A little Alita never hurt anybody.
Chris Carr is here.
Hey, everyone.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thanks for being here. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by going through those topics that we just listed off. And then the last part of the show, we're going to take questions from our YouTube channel members. We've already asked them to send some in, but we also want to open it up and invite you guys who are watching live to send in some questions. You can do so using the super chat feature in the live chat, and we'll get through just as many of those as we can at the end of the show. All right, with all that down, let's get things started with this. Did you like Alita Battle Angel? Well, good news. It sounds like an Alita Battle Angel sequel, Alita Battle Angel 2, may be more likely now than ever and might actually happen. Listen, this was supposed to be the beginning of a big franchise, Alita Battle Angel. James Cameron talked about it, well, I think it's fair to say without exaggeration, like well over a decade. He was talking about doing that. That was a big passion project of his. Eventually did come around, and unfortunately, he wasn't going to direct it himself. He was really tied up in the Avatar universe, but he gave it over to Robert Rodriguez to direct, and they worked together to bring the first one. Now, the trailers and marketing for it weren't strong. It didn't have exactly the box office results they wanted. What did the first Alita Battle Angel make at the box office?
$404 million.
So more than a Black Adam.
Wow, I was just going to say that.
It beat Black Adam. So
Nice.
$404 million. So it didn't get off to a great start, but it
Black Adam
legged
plus.
out a respectable $400 million. Still not the kind of box office result that screams franchise to movie studios. So we've never heard about a sequel. We've heard rumors. James Cameron a few months ago, you'll remember, said something about that he would still like to develop more sequels. Well, in a new interview, Robert Rodriguez, the director, is making it sound more and more likely that Alita Battle Angel 2 will happen. He said this. This comes to us from the folks at CBR who wrote the following. Robert Rodriguez said it would now be easier to film the sequel to Alita Battle Angel now that 20th Century Studios resumed production after its acquisition by Disney. Jim, that's James Cameron, and I always talk about how do we do another Alita. That studio, 20th Century, was bought by another studio, Disney. They're starting to make movies now, but that for a while, 20th Century wasn't making any of their movies. I think now you're seeing a few rolling out. We would love to, the director comment confirms a previous report that James Cameron has sequels planned for the live action movie. So according to Robert Rodriguez, one of the holdups to development of the sequel has been the fact that, well, you know, it's under Fox and Fox wasn't really rolling yet. It took them a little while for the Fox studios to get rolling in the production of their own films under the Disney banner. But Rodriguez says now they are rolling. James Cameron and I still want to do them. Cameron's comments before said he is developing sequel scripts. And so maybe, just maybe, we could actually see one come out here. Now, look, I'm going to admit I was a little bit dubious going into it because I was one of the people that I didn't think the trailers looked all that great. But I ended up not necessarily super loving Alita Battle Angel, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I had a really good time with it, and I left the theater wanting to see more. And so if they can ever get this going, I'd be really happy about it. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know that it's not going to happen. I just, you know what, every month that passes, I think reduces the likelihood of it happening. So if it's going to happen, it better happen fast. And look, James Cameron is completely tied up with Avatar for the next 5-6 years. So I don't know how much time he's going to have to dedicate to developing anything. I don't know that Robert Rodriguez is going to do it without James Cameron's heavy involvement. So would I like to see it? Absolutely. Do I actually think it's going to happen? Probably not. Chris, what do you think about the situation? What did you think about Alita in general? And what do you think the chances are, considering Rodriguez's comments here, of a sequel actually happening?
I personally wasn't a huge fan of this adaptation of Alita Battle Angel. I wasn't, Ray. I'm sorry.
You're not
Logan
alone.
loves
I know there
it.
were a bunch of people that weren't.
Logan loves it.
Ray is shocked, agog and aghast.
And I actually rewatched this over the summer, and I still have some issues with it. I didn't dislike it as much as I did initially in theaters, but there's definitely pacing issues in that movie.
I agree with that. I think
There's
are
a
pacing
lot of
issues,
pacing issues. There's a lot of intention issues too, where a lot of the tertiary characters, it's, well, we want to get up to this place. Okay, cool. Great. I would love to know more about that and why your life is so bad and why you've left your doctor husband for this crime lord.
Ray is shunning you right now.
He's putting the box up. Ray learned today that I go to the bathroom. Now he's learning that I don't like Alita. Man, it's a rough day for Ray. But it didn't really fire on all cylinders for me personally. It is visually stunning.
Yeah, it ended up being beautiful.
I think that's all really, really great there. But because it's so visually stunning, it's also expensive.
Yeah.
It is very expensive to make movies that look as good as this does. And I think between the kind of not so great box office, it did have a great Rotten Tomatoes score. Critics only gave it 61%, but audiences I think had it around 93 at the time. People seemed to really enjoy it much more than I did. But no one showed up to it, or at least not enough people showed up to it. And that mixed with how long it's been, I don't see this happening. Directors can say all they want, how much they want a movie to happen, but until, pen is put to paper and until cash is handed over, I don't see something like this happening. I think this is a beautiful pipe dream.
Starting to seem like the Crow kind of situation.
Oh, absolutely.
But the Crow is actually coming, though. After all this time,
this is our new Flash.
It's actually coming. Ray, I take it you really liked Alita Battle Angel?
Yeah, but you know what? I don't.
You don't care?
No, I thought it was a good movie. I had a good time. The visuals were great. It looks like they spent 170 million on the budget.
Ooh,
making
yeah,
404.
that's expensive.
The problem I see with this box office result is like almost 80% of it was international.
Yeah, and that you would like to see it be a little bit more balanced. But hey, if James Cameron wants it, there's always a chance it's actually going to happen. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? Why hasn't James Gunn mentioned Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn as one of the returning characters for the DCU? That is actually the topic of today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. Listen, guys, if you got a question for the show and would like to hear your voice on it, go ahead and call Ryan Reynolds' own Mint Mobile hotline at 951-268-4259. And today's is about, could Margot Robbie be in the DCU? Check it out.
Hi, John. My name is Anne Marie. I'm reaching out because I know James Gunn in DC recently announced that they're having 3 actors come back, Blue Beetle, Amanda Waller, and Peacemaker. But I was kind of shocked that Harley Quinn wasn't included on that, especially with the success of Barbie and Margot Robbie hype. Why don't you think they're having her come back? Thanks so much. Bye.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling that in, Anne Marie. And yeah, listen, James Gunn has recently mentioned that obviously Amanda Waller is coming back. John Cena's Peacemaker is coming back. And Xolo is going to be playing Blue Beetle. Although it's not going to be in continuity with the Blue Beetle movie we just had. So it's going to be the same actor playing it, but it's going to kind of be a different set of circumstances. Now, he also recently mentioned that, what was the name of Peacemaker's right-hand man, best friend? Not Eagly.
Vigilante?
Vigilante, thank you. He also mentioned that Vigilante's come back, which makes me think that like the cast of Peacemaker is coming back, which I have no qualms with because, again, I've mentioned before, there's really nothing connecting season 1 of Peacemaker to the DCEU other than a cameo at the end of the season, which you can easily retcon. So I'm fine with that. But why not Margot Robbie? Especially considering that, as Anne-Marie has pointed out, that Barbie is the #1 film in the world this year. So obviously she's really hot. Why not bring her back? Well, I would suggest this, that you never put the actor first, right? Story comes first. All good actors will tell you that. The story comes first, then character, then the actor associated with them, right? And if what they're doing, like, look, if you suddenly randomly just bring Margot Robbie back, then it's raising a bunch of questions about why then is Gal Gadot not coming back? Why is Henry Cavill not coming back, right? So all that kind of stuff. So you got to have a really good, purposeful reason, not just because, well, Margot Robbie's hot right now, so just bring back Harley Quinn. Well, then you could go, but what about the business? The business aspect of it. Barbie is the #1 film in the world. It made more money than any other film opening weekend. It made more money than any other movie, period, worldwide this year. Margot Robbie's really hot. So just for the box office alone, maybe you should bring back, Harley Quinn being played by Margot Robbie. And by the way, just for the record, I adore Margot Robbie. She is a Academy Award nominated actress. She's going to win an Academy Award sometime in her career. I think she's fabulous. And I love her as Harley Quinn. But you can't bring her back just based on box office, because take away Barbie, there's no argument to be made that she equals box office. Take a look at this. If we take out Barbie and just look at the last bunch of films that she has done, let's look at the box office. Babylon, in which she had a tremendous cast with her, including Brad Pitt. That movie only made $63 million. That's not opening weekend. That's not domestic. That's worldwide. Before that, she was in another film with a big cast. Christian Bale, John David Washington, Taylor Swift in Amsterdam. That movie worldwide made $31 million. Then she did The Suicide Squad, $161 million. Her quote unquote standalone Birds of Prey as Harley Quinn only made half of a Black Adam, made $205 million. Then the biggest one she did, won some Oscars, got a lot of Oscar attention, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Even that didn't make one Black Adam, made $377 million. Then she did Mary, Queen of Scots with Saoirse Ronan, $46 million worldwide. And then a movie that is wonderful and got her an Academy Award nomination, I, Tonya, fantastic, only made $53 million. Now look, I think having a talent on the level of a Margot Robbie in your movie will make your movie better. But unfortunately, despite what's happening with Barbie, you can't just say, put Margot Robbie in your movie and that will equal box office. The numbers tell a different story. So why doesn't James Gunn put her in? Well, I think because it's a brand new DCU. You got to minimize how much you bring over. And I'm sure he's going to narratively have reasons why those characters are coming over. And you can't even just make the argument just based on finances, because the stats show that Margot Robbie alone, like most actors, does not automatically equal big box office, because the numbers tell us so. So that's probably why. Anyway, Chris, I think you love Margot Robbie too. She's fantastic. I love her Harley Quinn, but I don't find it very confusing why they wouldn't bring her back for this. I don't know. What do you think about the question about should they bring her back? And do you think maybe at the end of the day, because James Gunn did love working with her, do you think at the end of the day she will be back?
I adore Margot Robbie, and I think I'm the only person in this room and possibly on this live stream who really enjoyed Birds of Prey. I love that movie so much.
Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
All right, it's the two of you.
Yeah. I liked Birds of Prey.
I really liked it. And that soundtrack is really good.
The soundtrack is
great
good.
Soundtrack.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan was awesome in it.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor was great in it.
He did a good job. But I don't... She's played the role multiple times now. She's an Academy caliber actress who, I agree, I think she definitely is going to win one within her lifetime. I don't know if she's going to want to come back too. She said, for sure she'd work with James Gunn again. We had the report from the direct back in March. But she's going to have a pretty full slate, because even though she hasn't necessarily been box office guarantee, now with Barbie, I think once the actor strike is over, that's going to open up a lot of doors for her. And I think she's going to
100%.
get a lot of scripts to choose from. So I do think she's going to have a pretty full dance card, and she's going to need a really phenomenal reason to come back and play Harley. It's something mind-blowing. And that has to be a script also that makes sense for her to come back too. You know, it makes sense right now to have Viola Davis return as Amanda Waller. It makes sense to have John Cena return as Peacemaker. Those kinds of things. It's going to have to make sense for her. And right now, we don't know who our Bruce Wayne is. We don't know if he even has a Joker at this point. We don't know if Harleen Quinzel has started giving him his medical treatments, you know, and performing psychology and everything. So it have to make sense. And narratively right now, it doesn't. There's no narrative. So that has to be established first before we can decide if she's even going to come back. And when I say we, I mean James Gunn and Margot Robbie, not me.
Here's the thing. I know this is one of the I carry many unpopular opinions. That's okay. Being right can be lonely. But one of the
Thing to say.
I gotta make a t-shirt that says that being right can be lonely. But one of the most unpopular opinions that I have is that I really 100% believe that one of the biggest missed opportunities about the DCEU was them not doing more and leaning more into the dynamic between Margot Robbie and Jared Leto as Harley and Joker. I adored that toxic relationship. I thought when they were on screen together, I thought it was absolute dynamite. That whole scene they did with Common in the club and everything too. I mean, I ate that stuff up. I really thought, and you know, the director, you know, he said they actually ended up cutting a lot of their interactions together out of the movie that he's always regretted. And I really thought that was a big missed opportunity. I know not a lot of people agree with me, and that's fine. Being right can be lonely. All right. With that down, guys, we still are going to talk about, is Star Wars, the Favreau and Filoniverse, kind of in decline? We're going to talk about the keys to success for the brand new season of Loki that starts tonight. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second here and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. The most comfortable shoes I've ever worn at Vessi and HelloFresh. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Vessi. Now, you guys know I'm not exactly the most fashion conscious guy in the world, but I love a great pair of shoes that are comfortable and I can wear almost anywhere. And growing up in Canadian winters when my feet got wet a lot, waterproof would be nice too. Enter Vessi. They make the claim that they're not just fashionable and super comfortable, they're also waterproof. Now, you guys remember, when I got my first pair of Vessis, I put them to the ultimate waterproof test. I actually stuck my foot in my pool, my feet stayed dry, and the shoes stayed dry. Incredible. And they're the most comfortable pair of shoes I ever owned. Well, that made me want another pair. So I got another pair of Vessis that look great and just equal that world-class comfort that I got from that first pair of shoes. They are absolutely my favorite shoes that I've ever owned. Imagine your favorite sneaker style supercharged with waterproof technology and unmatched comfort. No matter how you like to stay active, Vessi has the shoes for you. Trail-ready high tops, effortless slip-ons, and classic court shoes, all with a waterproof twist. They are just as comfortable and stylish as your favorite sneakers, but even more versatile. So if you're like me and you want good-looking shoes that are ready for anything, rain or shine, make sure you go to vessi.com/Campea and get yourself a pair today. Go to vessi.com/Campea and get shoes for your best summer yet. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Kickstart a fresh fall routine with HelloFresh. HelloFresh handles all the meal planning and shopping to deliver everything you need to cook up a tasty meal right at home. They do the hard part, and you get to take the credit. HelloFresh takes the stress out of mealtime by delivering fresh ingredients and easy recipes right to your door. So this fall, skip that extra trip to the grocery store and have dinner ready in no time with America's #1 meal kit. Like we've mentioned before, Ann and I are both working professionals, and mealtime is sometimes a bit stressful. That's why we absolutely love HelloFresh. It's nutritious, it's delicious, and we actually have a really good time making dinner together. So guys, go to HelloFresh.com/50Campea and use the code 50Campea for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50Campea and use the code 50Campea for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And thank you to our friends at Vessi and the great folks at HelloFresh for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, that down. Let's go on to this, shall we? Ahsoka is now done. It's finished season 1. It's in our rear view mirror. And the question has been coming up about, is this Favreau Filoni-verse in Star Wars kind of on the decline? And that is another topic of today's Mint Mobile hotline question. Our new caller is asking specifically that. Are Favreau and Filoni maybe stretching things too thin? Check it out.
Hey, John. Marcus from Edmonton here. My question is regarding the quality control in Star Wars. I think it's starting to become noticeable between the Book of Boba Fett and Mando Season 3 and Ahsoka that Lucasfilm is stretching Favreau and Filoni on a lot of these projects, and it reminds me a lot of Berlanti's team at the CW, which just began producing hot garbage when they ran like 7 shows at once. Do you think it's time to cut some roles back so they can focus on individual projects instead of making so many? Thanks.
All right, John Marcus from Edmonton. By the way, I love Edmonton. Look, here's the thing. As far as are they stretched too thin? Yeah, when the Berlanti CW stuff was going, you literally had 22 episode a season shows and running like 2, 3, 4, 5 of them at the same time. That was one thing. What Jon Favreau, by the way, who I adore, has been doing with this is a lot lighter. You're talking 6, 7, 8 episodes, normally like 6, 6, 7, 8 episodes, usually running 1 or 2, one at a time, definitely. So the comparison between what Berlanti was doing versus what the Favreau Filoni verse is doing is really night and day difference. They have a much lighter workload than, say, Berlanti did over there. And they, both of them had teams of people to work with and all that kind of stuff. But things have changed. Now, if you guys will remember, when Mandalorian Season 1 came out, it was like, look, I don't know if you guys remember this a couple of years ago, but it still is this case. The Star Wars fandom is a very divided place. Super divided place.
What?
I know. Don't say that. It's, yeah.
Everyone's so nice.
But when Mandalorian Season 1 came out, it was like all of us loved it. It was the first thing in a long time that all of us as Star Wars fans went, we love this. It was great. The old Western wolf and cub kind of thing to it. I mean, just that score. Ludwig's score on that. Boom. Bum, 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 bum. I listen to it in my car at least twice a week when I'm driving in. I love that score. And it got us all super unified. And all of a sudden, everybody's screaming, because this is what we as fans do. When one thing is good, we're all like, let the people who did that do everything. Because there was one, and everybody freaked out. It's like, make Jon Favreau the president of Lucasfilm. Something I wouldn't be against, by the way. And all that kind of stuff. Then Mandalorian Season 2 came out. And here's the thing. Everybody rewrote history at the end of Season 2 when Luke showed up. But I remember, people were not liking Mandalorian Season 2. I was having to make videos weekly defending Mandalorian. I was one of the few people that was really enjoying Mandalorian Season 2 before the finale. Everybody was always crap talking on and correcting, oh, freaking ice spiders. Shut up. I love the ice spiders episode. Anyway.
I like the X-Wing in it.
I mean, yeah, that was great. And we got, Mr. Kim was showing up for the first time. But a lot of people were feeling disillusioned with, like, people try to rewrite history now, but a lot of people, I remember because I was getting those emails every day, were feeling disillusioned by Mandalorian Season 2, except me, until Luke showed up at the end. Then once Luke showed up, then this is the greatest thing ever. And it was. But I mean, all of a sudden, everybody forgot that they didn't like everything in Season 2 up until that point, and now Season 2 was awesome, which, again, being right can be lonely. But I love Season 2 myself. But since then, what have we gotten? Now, Obi-Wan, you can't put that on Jon Favreau's thing, because that's the one thing, that and Andor, that's the things that Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni really didn't have anything to do with. So you can't blame Obi-Wan on that. But what have we gotten since? We got Mandalorian Season 3, which, whether you hated it, sort of disliked it, kind of liked it, whatever, I think almost all of us agree was the weakest season of the 3 Mandalorian seasons. I think most of us can agree on that. Even if you ended up still quite liking it, I think most of us agree it was the weakest of the 3 seasons. And a lot of people felt disillusioned with it. We also had the Book of Boba Fett, which was executive produced, created by, written by, and also directed in there as well, with other directors as well. John Favreau, Dave Filoni, all that kind of stuff. And that was garbage.
Except for when Mando showed up, oddly enough.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard's episodes directed with Mandalorian, that was actually the best part of the season. Those were good episodes. But overall, that show was terrible. And then we got Ahsoka, which, I mean, you know me, I think there's a bunch of people who liked it. I think people who were big fans of Clone Wars liked it. And then there are others like myself who didn't. So where has this been going? That huge energy that came with that first one, that first Mandalorian season 1. You know, Andor is an outlier because that had nothing to do, and nor did Obi-Wan, is an outlier. But other than that, it's kind of been in decline. But also viewership has kind of been in decline. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, who wrote this. When comparing the lineup, viewership data from Samba TV revealed that 1.2 million households watched Ahsoka over the course of its first 6 days on Disney+. Comparatively, The Book of Boba Fett had 1.9 million viewers in its first 6 days. Obi-Wan Kenobi had 2.14 million, and that's to be expected. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Had 2.14 million in its first 4 days. The Mandalorian, the flagship show, pulled in 2.08 million people in the first 4 days of its season 2 premiere, while season 3 only got 1.6. So you see there's a massive decline there. Ahsoka's viewership is quote unquote similar to Andor's premiere season. So we also see a trend here in viewership. The viewership of this Favreau-Filoni verse is not doing this. Viewership is doing this. It's declining. It's disappearing. And I remember everybody says, now look, to say Ahsoka is roughly similar to the viewership of Andor, well, I think Andor is the greatest Star Wars thing produced since the original trilogy. So Ahsoka's in good company. But it's kind of showing that it has been in decline. It has not been able to build on the momentum of Mandalorian season 1 and the big finale that got everybody in the world popping off on YouTube with the end of Mandalorian season 2. It has not been able to follow that up. And this is not me trying to be negative. I'm just pointing out the statistics. I'm just pointing out the numbers that are being reported here. Viewership has been in decline, and I believe overall the quality's been a little bit in decline. Now, the basis of the original question is that a result of them being stretched too thin? I'm sorry. I don't think making 6 episodes or 7 episodes of something a year is stretching you too thin when other showrunners have multiple shows that ran 20-something episodes a season going at the same time. But who knows? I mean, maybe, possibly. What this does make me worry about a little bit is the upcoming Dave Filoni, who I believe is going to be a remarkable live action director. I mean, I think it's a little shaky right now. I do, but I think he's going to be really great in the years to come. It makes me a little bit worried about this live action movie that is supposed to be this whole Favreau-verse, you know, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, all that kind of stuff. As the television interest has declined, where does that leave them? I'm not really sure. I would say this, though. I think it's far too early to write it off. I think it is far too early to write it off. Because despite the fact that there were people like me who did not like Ahsoka, conversely, what is also true is there were a bunch of people who did, really enjoyed it. And I think there's potential there. And, you know, take away Book of Boba Fett. I know we can't, but if you take away
So
Book
please.
of Boba Fett, the class average comes up quite a bit. So look, do I think it's a little bit in decline right now? Yes. Do I believe it's in an unavoidable now death slide? It can't break out of this decline? Not at all. I think it's not too late. I think if the next show they produce is a, you know, universally agreed upon crowd pleaser like Mandalorian season 1, I think they're right back in business. I really do. And in John Favreau, I trust. Have they dropped the ball a little bit? Yep. But, you know, we got some other great things coming. Like Acolyte is coming. I'm dying to see Acolyte. I cannot wait to see what they do with that. And we'll see how it develops. Anyway, Chris, as we sit back now, we are now years removed because it feels like an eternity ago. And also like just yesterday that Disney Plus launched. Mandalorian season 1 came out. We were all kind of enthralled with it. how do you see the course that it's taken up till now? And what do you see as its kind of future roadmap?
I'm hoping it gets its footing back because this last season, while I wasn't as disappointed as everyone else seems to be, it did lose its way. And it's not the way. We need to get back on that track. Because seasons 1 and 2, I mean, season 1 in particular, that's my favorite thing from Star Wars Next to Empire. I love it so much. I think it's so wonderful. And I think moving forward with Star Wars things, we need to take a step back from focusing on nostalgia and interconnectedness and aesthetic and going for character and story. Those are the things that should drive anything in television and film. And I think a few things have gotten too interconnected. We've talked about this before, the Dickensian nature of the Star Wars universe where everyone knows everyone. And I think we've gotten a little too, oh, there's that thing that I know about because I watched this. Oh, there's that thing because I've read the novels and you haven't.
They've leaned too heavily on
Exactly.
it now. Now it's become a crutch.
Yeah. And while I very much enjoy getting to watch this with Logan and saying, well, what's that? Wait, why is that a thing? Because he'll gasp at stuff and be like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. I think you need to have Star Wars also be a little more entry point, especially if there's so many things that are in contention for what's canon, what's not. The novelizations come to mind. The comics come to mind. They're not all canon, but there'll be references to things that are really fun to include, but I don't think you should include certain things. Space whales come to mind at the at the lack of great storytelling, right? And I understood that as a device. I understood that as a MacGuffin, but I think there could have been other things we did with the Ahsoka story, for example. I do think it's too early to write things off. I don't understand, and this is fandom as a whole, when something is great, we love it so much, and we give them all the flowers. And if something goes slightly awry or doesn't deliver to the standards that we hold it to, that person should be burned at the stake and never be allowed to touch my Star Wars ever again because they don't understand it like I do. All of this ultimately is subjective. There are people out there who absolutely adored Book of Boba Fett. I don't know who they are, but good for them.
Yeah, I don't know who they are, but no, there are. I've heard from people who really liked Book of Boba Fett.
And I think, too, we just have to make sure that the characters do what they should do moving forward that makes sense for them narratively. Boba Fett, why was he trying to be this peacekeeping guy? Like, it didn't make sense. His objectives didn't make sense anymore.
Yeah. It ended with him on the Jabba's throne. You're like, oh, this is so badass.
Yeah.
And then what we didn't realize was the next scene was, now how do I do this?
Yeah, exactly.
I raised an army. You have 4 people that work for you.
Yeah.
It's an army.
It's an army.
It's an army.
You got some
I'm
kids
Boba
on
friend.
Bespas. Calm down.
Boba
So
friend.
I think moving forward, it just has to be
Friends.
Boba friends. That's amazing.
Boba friends.
It's Boba and the Boba Friends.
Boba Patrol.
I think you just have to allow your characters to not be good people. Boba Fett shouldn't be a good person, in my opinion.
I know.
He should be a baddie, and he can have moments of goodness within him because no one is truly evil. Just like we discuss with the sides of the Force and balance. Let people be a little shitty. Don't try to make everyone the hero of their own story because not everyone is.
I still remember watching Book of Boba Fett. And I remember the time, like, it's not often that I start yelling and screaming at the TV. But I remember that one episode of Book of Boba Fett because there are 2 real big logic things going on. When Boba was trying to find his armor again, right? And he's like, well, I was in the Sarlacc pit. Yeah, okay, yes, you were in the Sarlacc pit, but you do remember that you crawled out of the Sarlacc pit with your armor on,
He probably
right?
just threw it back in for
You
storage.
do remember that the armor's not in the Sarlacc pit anymore, right? And then he decides to take his ship. Here's the Sarlacc pit, and he knows the Sarlacc has the big tentacle things, and he literally flies his ship right over like that. I'm yelling at the TV, what are you doing? Why are you so stupid? And sure enough, the tentacle things come up. But that was just good. But
just
I'll
like
say
I
that
planned.
To your entry point, you made a point about having an entry point for people, right? That is the one thing I think even Andor is guilty of. Is that I think the only thing in Star Wars television that has truly been a valid entry point for potential new fans has been season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You didn't have to know Star Wars to watch season 1 of The Mandalorian. You didn't have to watch, the prequels, the sequels, the originals, the cartoons. You didn't have to watch anything. And the moment that little freaking baby Yoda finger came up, thralls of new fans. I've never watched Star Wars, but I'm watching it now.
Exactly.
And nothing else has really done that. So not even Andor.
No, and you, because there's going to be people too. Well, good. It shouldn't have an entry point. You should have to go watch all these other things because then you're
Yeah,
real
the
fans.
lovely group of gatekeepers.
Like, I
yes.
hate to
love
break
them
it
so
to you
much.
guys. You can feel that way all you want. If you want continued new Star Wars things, you have to have new fans want it. It can't just be 4 people in a room going, oh, nothing beat Empire, so why even frickin' bother? Like, you have to have new people who want it and have skin in the game.
It's almost like genetics. You're basically inbreeding your content.
Yes.
Because it's a smaller and smaller pool that you're just building off the member berries and not expanding it, and it's getting sicker and sicker. And then everyone's saying, well, this is the Filoni verse within the Star Wars verse, and so it's leading to a movie. But if every installment is diminishing returns, you don't care about the movie that's coming out.
Yeah, and that's what I worry about at this point. But who knows? We will see.
Inbreeding.
All right.
It's a great comparison, honestly.
Next up, let's talk about this, shall we? It is game day.
Game day.
Woo, I love being able to say that because 2 big things. First of all, the new episode of Gen V comes out tonight. I am ludicrously excited about that. But on top of that, one of my favorite characters in the MCU, I didn't love season 1, but one of my favorite characters in the MCU returns with Loki season 2 tonight. Comes out. First reactions for the first 4 episodes came out, and they were all very strong. Excited to hear that. We got Ki-Hugh Kwan joining the party now, and I'm dying to see some more Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson dynamic. I love the Loki Mobius kind of dynamic on screen. I think they got to do more of that. We'll touch on that in just a second. So it's starting up tonight. And I've had a lot of people writing to me and asking variations of the question, what does this season of Loki need to do? Now, I understand when most people ask that question, they're asking what specific story should they be telling? So I don't think that's important, but I thought we would take here on game day, we would talk about what I consider to be the 5 key things that Loki season 2 needs to do in order to succeed. And none of them are plot things, right? It's like, well, you got to have a story where Mobius falls in love with Kang. Like, nothing like that.
Ooh.
It gets spicy now. Got the TVA. Get human resources involved now with the TVA. So
Wait, Loki loving Loki, that is inbreeding. They're doing it too.
here are the 5 what I think key philosophical things, principled things that Loki season 2 needs to do. All right, let's start off with number 1. I think they need to continue Loki's evolution. Now, while I did not love Loki season 1, one of the things they did great, and I love it when a show does this, and I hate it when they don't. Loki, the character we meet in episode 1, is a different character by the time we get to the final episode. He's gone on a character journey. He's had character evolution. He's been molded. He's changed. He's had experiences that have shaped him and his direction. And he's a different kind of person by the end of the first season as at the beginning of the first season. They need to continue that. They need to continue seeing the evolution of Loki. So my hope is that whatever Loki we meet, which is probably in the state of where we left him off at the end of season 1, the Loki we are introduced to at the beginning of season 2 has that character's journey that by the end it has molded and changed him. So he's a little bit different than the character he was at the beginning. And that's one of the things I thought they did really, really well in season 1, and I hope they're able to continue that in season 2. All right. Second principle that I think they need to accomplish to make Loki season 2 a success. Establish Kang as the universe's main villain. I mean, we got a Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania that had some telekinesis and got punched out by Paul Rudd. Not really feeling the Thanos level threat in the galaxy right now. Now, I'm not saying that Loki season 2 needs to be the thing that sets up all the rest of the MCU phase 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm not saying that. But I think one of the things they need to accomplish here, by whatever narrative road they want to go down, is that Loki or Kang is not just dangerous. Kang is an existential threat. And we need to come out of this series, I think, with that, because not only I think is it important for the show, I think it's important for the MCU in general, because we're a long way in since Avengers Endgame, and we have no sense of any real big threat out there right now. So I think one of the things that this show needs to do, by whatever narrative path they go, establish Kang as the main big bad. All right. Third principle, I think they need to really knock out of the park to make this season successful. Don't get lost in time travel nonsense.
Whoops.
Now, one of the things that I read in
But I
one of
love
the
it.
reactions to the first 4 episodes that leaves me a little bit concerned was it might have been our friend Eric Davis from Fandango who wrote, you get a little bogged down in the time travel, multidimensional mumbo jumbo and stuff like that. They've got to avoid that. Make it a narrative that the audience can just clearly follow along with. I'm not saying you can't make it a complex narrative, yes, but a lot of times you get into the what I call the Star Trek jargon. You know, whenever Star Trek had a problem, just say, well, realign the tachyon emitters of the blah, blah, blahs and blah, blah, blahs. Just make up whatever words you want. Don't let Loki season 2 with the TVA and the time travel nature of it get too lost in that nonsense. Make sure as you're doing time travel and you're doing jumping around times or maybe even realities, keep your narrative focused. Don't get lost in that stuff. All right. The third principle I think they need in order to make Loki a real success in season 2 is elevate Loki. Now, what do I mean by that? One of the things that I think season 1 did, and what I think the MCU has failed Loki for overall, not just in Loki season 1, but in general. Loki is supposed to be a god of Asgard. He's a god. His name will make entire worlds tremble. You know, the one we met in Avengers as well, where that went toe to toe and was beating Captain America, quite frankly, in a straight up fight. He's kind of become a pest. You know, they've seemed to have devolved him as not being somebody. You know what? It's a little bit like John Wick. You know, John Wick Chapter 1, the very mention of John Wick's name made criminal overlords tremble and lie shaking in their beds. By John Wick Chapter 3, oh, what? There's a $10 bounty on John Wick? Sure, I'll go after John Wick. Nobody cared anymore. Nobody feared him. I think beyond being a rascal and a scamp, I think they need to elevate Loki a little bit more here and remind us that he is a god of Asgard. And I would like to see them do that. All right. The fifth thing I think they need to do philosophically in season to really make it a success is lean into the Loki / Mobius dynamic. Really lean into that, because on top of all these other things, you got to remember you're still trying to create an engaging and entertaining show. The best thing about Loki season 1 to me was whenever Mobius and Loki were just talking to each other. Whether they're just sitting in the cafeteria at the TVA, whether they're exchanging barbs in an elevator ride, it didn't matter. This show could be 35 minutes of Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston just talking to each other. And the way they write their banter, I would just walk away pretty happy. It's so good. And I think a little bit in season 1, they got away from it a little bit. I hope they really lean into it a lot in this season. So again, the 5 things I think they need to do. Number 1, continue Loki's evolution. Number 2, establish Kang as the universe's main baddie. Number 3, don't get lost in the time travel nonsense. Number 4, elevate the character of Loki. And number 5, lean into that Loki and Mobius dynamic. Chris, we're heading into Loki season 2 tonight. What would you say are the keys they need to really kind of, like, not saying, well, you need to have Loki and what's her name?
Sylvie. Make
Sylvie,
out.
right. You got to have that. No, I'm not talking about like narrative
They
stuff,
do.
but principle wise, whether it's one of the things that I listed or something else, what do you think are the important elements here?
Well, first of all, time travel nonsense. How dare you? How dare you? Also, tachyons. Sure, they're hypothetical, but that's real science. Star Trek would do real science. Just light particles that move fast. Anywho, I think this is a solid list of things. The big thing for me here is it has to freaking matter. It just does. Because the last season did feel like it set up real stakes that we then didn't really pay attention to. Because we saw a version of Kang, sure, and then that was not connected to Quantumania. When you had such a good gateway, if they had made it the Chronopolis and had tied in time travel and how time works and if that connected to the quantum realm, that would have made sense. But instead it was, so this is interconnected, but not yet. There's just, you saw a guy. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Let's go over here to these ant people. We'll go to this center built for ants. Punches. And then we've kind of not really connected everything. We just know that there's going to be more Kangs And we see in that post-credit scene, Loki dealing with this, going, oh my gosh, there's Kang, right? So it all has to connect. If it's going to connect, really connect, actually get those puzzle pieces to fit together. And it has to be meaningful. And there do have to be real stakes here.
Yeah.
Because you've got multiverse, you've got alternate timelines within singular universes.
Yes.
And you have quantum realms, which I guess are in the multiverse each place as well. So yeah.
It's too much stuff. I'm more interested in fan theories right now than I am in what Marvel's actually done. And I know I've talked about how all people get really mad when it's not my Star Wars, it's not my Marvel, that's not how I do it. There were so many amazing theories and twists that people were putting online that was, oh man, I would love it if that happened. That'd be so cool. Like that spike in the Loki timeline was when Wanda really freaked out and lost her powers. People were saying, oh, if you watch the episodes at the same time, they sync up. And that was a little too inside baseball. But how cool would that have been if everyone had gone, oh, that was connected to this, and now this is connected to that? Just make it all mean something for me, you guys. I invest so much time. I invest so much time
is invested in this.
I could be learning more about tachyons, frankly. I could be learning useful
things that can actually help your everyday life.
I know.
Well,
I could be figuring out time travel for all of us.
And, you know,
Me.
Kevin Feige was like, oh, those answers are going to be answered real quick. Well, cut to 4 movies later and like
Yeah.
2 series, and we haven't.
How
So
dare you,
lies.
Kevin? Lies and slander.
Well, we'll see how Loki season 2 starts tonight. Guys, don't forget to also watch, if you haven't started watching Gen V, watch Gen V.
Oh, can I disappoint you real quick?
Oh, what's that?
I watched the first episode.
Really? I thought you would love it.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Oh, Chris.
Oh, God, it's so good.
Did you watch it, Ray?
No.
Okay.
I'm
It's Tremors with violence.
Oh, it's so good. Anyway, all right. With that all down, guys, we're now going to move over and start taking your thoughts, comments, and questions, and those of our YouTube channel members. Listen, if you've got a thought or a theory or a question about any of the stuff we've already talked about, go ahead and use the Super Chat feature and send that in. We'll get right to that. But first, we're going to take a moment and thank the sponsor of the John Campea Show, our friends at Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Signing your life away to a big wireless provider is kind of like being trapped on a roller coaster from hell. Sure, it looks like fun at first. They probably even threw in a free phone, but now you can't get off. Month after month of insane bills and unexpected thrills, like overages and surprise fees. If that sounds like your current big wireless plan, it's time to get off the ride with Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You guys know before I came to Mint Mobile, I was paying triple what I am paying now on the standard big wireless plan, and I will never go back. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped right to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to you who are watching live and some of the super chats you've been sending in. And then we're going to go over to our YouTube channel members. So, Chris, what do you got up first?
From Raymond Verada. Did you see Jason Statham's Beekeeper trailer?
Yes, I did.
What?
And it's very, very John Wick. So basically, for those who haven't seen the trailer, it's probably going to be a poor man's John Wick, but I'm still there for it. Jason Statham is literally a beekeeper working on this woman's farm. I guess she boards him, whatever. And it's Felicia Rashad. Oh. And then what happens is Felicia Rashad answers the phone while she's on the phone. She's got her computer open and says, "You have a virus. Call this number right away." She gets taken in by an online scam, and the scammers drain her bank accounts. And when she realizes they drained her bank account, she kills herself. And Jason Statham, who loved her, comes in, and he's decided that phone scammers all have to die.
Yes.
Oh,
And
I'm in.
the whole trailer is basically Jason Statham. Yeah, I'm going to kill you. And he goes, and it's like, he's just killing everybody. And then you find out in the trailer that the beekeeper part is actually, he was part of a covert government operation called Beekeepers, that they like the top level, of course, the top level assassins that they have. Oh, I protect the hive. Yeah, so he's just decided, all telemarketers
scammers.
everywhere
Oh my
or
God.
phone scammers, they all have to not be punished. They all must die. And he goes on a murderous rampage. So I'll tell you what, it is clearly going to be a poor man's John Wick, but I'm going to watch the shit out of it
Oh my
anyway.
gosh.
I cannot wait to watch
I'm
this.
here for it. That happened to my parents with their Netflix account. They got a very real email that was like, "Hey, your Netflix account has been compromised." Blah 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 blah. And then they got I think 10 grand taken from them. They got it sorted. But it was horrible.
Yep.
So
Just
my mom
call
called me and was
Jason
like,
Statham.
"Don't answer any messages about your Netflix."
Anything like that, you forward the email to Jason Statham first and ask him if this is
Exactly.
legit.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Great service he offers.
Gotta do Jesse Roy here.
From Jesse Roy, The Meg 2 made more money than Black Adam.
Well,
Oh, good job, Meg
and
2.
and Shazam and Blue Beetle
Yeah.
and the Flash.
Yeah, but Black Adam is the top grossing DC EU film of the last 5 years. So, I mean, it did beat it. I mean, it's a horrible movie. I wanted to like it so much. Because, Jason Statham is literally kicking a giant shark in the face.
Yeah.
What's not to love? Maybe if he was the beekeeper, it would have done even better.
Maybe. That trailer, though, in 40X, it's so stupid fun. Oh, man.
All right, what's next?
All right, another Jesse Roy.
From Jesse Roy again. Hey, John and crew. Sorry, I was away for a bit. I was in a coma for 42 days.
What?
Due to a drunk driver hitting me. I'm slowly recovering, but watching your show is helping me to get stronger. Talk soon. Bye. Jesse, oh my gosh.
We accept your apology.
Jesus Christ, John.
Yeah.
I already talked, just so you know, I already talked to Jesse in the chat.
Okay. I was like, whew.
Listen, I'll tell you what. When New Year's, inevitably when we get around to New Year's, every year when I'm signing off from our last broadcast before New Year's Eve, I'll always say, hey guys, remember, be careful, be safe. If you're going to go out, have a designated driver ready, have your Uber money ready, whatever, because if you drink and drive, you are a living piece of shit. I hope you go to prison and have every hole in your face raped. I mean, people are
That's
like,
only like 3.
John, you're taking away people's choices. People want to be adult. People can make their own decisions. If they think they can handle 1 or 2 drinks and drive, they should be letting, no, shut the fuck up. All right. I've had people in my life hurt because of drunk drivers. I have no patience. I have zero tolerance for people who drink and drive. You're a living piece of walking shit if you do that. Because I don't give a fuck if you think, oh, I can handle myself. I don't give a fuck about you. You can run yourself off a cliff for all I care. You're going to hit somebody else. My wife could be on the road while you decided you're cool to drive drunk. Fuck you. Sorry, am I getting emotional about that? Yeah. No, dudes, listen, if you know anybody's drinking driving, don't pussyfoot around it. Who cares if you make it awkward? Punch somebody in the face and knock them the fuck out if you have to stop them from driving drunk. Because I don't care if they hurt themselves. They're going to hurt somebody else. So fuck those people. Anyway, a little passionate about that.
Well, Jesse, we're really happy
I'm
you're on
glad
the mend.
you made it, man. I'm so glad you made it, and fuck whoever it was that hit you. All right, what's next?
From Brandon Beal. Game day. It is
Game
Brandon.
day. I was halfway through sipping my soda, and Ray let us down. Ray let us down.
What?
Yeah, you let us down, man.
Your guys game
I don't know
day.
why, but you let us down.
It's not.
Ray let us down.
Listen,
Ray let everyone
You talk
down.
about any moon property and you yell game day, I yell it right there with you.
I know, but game day is only for Invasion and the Swarm on CW. I'm actually into these shows. Come on.
That's the only
sense,
thing
makes
game
sense.
day is for.
Okay. Game day. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. We're live now. We have to do this in time.
We've been live.
Well,
Oh, shit.
rust.
From Nat Reads. With the Marvels and new Hunger Games both coming out in November, which movie do you think will perform better?
Hunger Games. But
Oh.
I think so, but that's just,
That's a hot take.
Listen, I'll tell you what. Before we saw the preview for the new Hunger Games at CinemaCon, I would have said Marvels. I think this movie is going to be a lot better than people like myself maybe thought initially. And I think it's going to be bigger than people like myself thought it was going to be initially. I actually think the new Hunger Games, I'm going to agree with Jonathan on this. I actually think the new Hunger Games has potential to be bigger. And that's not me knocking on how good the Marvels can do. I think the Marvels can make $500, $600 plus million, but I think the range for this new Hunger Games could be $600, $700, $800 million. Again, we won't know until we get much closer, but I mean, I'm actually going to say Hunger Games.
The new trailer definitely has moved the needle for people because I've had
great.
a ton of people say how much they didn't care about this movie until that latest
Suddenly
trailer.
now people are caring because it actually looks really good. So,
I still just don't care about President Snow.
all right, what's next?
From Andy, if you told me a month ago that both Paw Patrol and Saw X would get above 80% on Rotten Tomatoes while the creator was under 70%, I would have laughed at you. It's the world is a cruel place.
You know what? I might go see Paw Patrol.
That's fair.
The chat is convincing me. I might go see Paw
I don't know
Patrol.
why. Everyone in the chat, almost every day, not everyone in the chat, people in the chat every day seem to find it important to tell me that they saw Paw Patrol.
I'm going to go see it, man.
Like they
Forget that,
tag
man.
me
I'm
and
gonna
say,
see
hey,
it.
man, I saw Paw Patrol.
Well, I think people also think your kids are much younger.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I think they're
Jonathan's
probably
kids
like,
are
what a good
like
movie for you and your family to go see.
driving age. So,
I'll probably go see it though. I love puppies.
all right, what's next?
From Mark Netto, Loki season 2. Woo! Jet ski, baby.
Oh yeah, they kind of left that one dangling last year, didn't they? The jet ski thing.
If we don't see him on a jet ski, what are we even?
I gotta tell
Flip
you,
every table.
Look, I've told you before, I was kind of let down by Loki season 1. I not that it was bad, but I thought it underwhelmed. I really did. But I've gotten really excited about season 2 from the reactions to it. Just the fact that I love this character so much. Here's hoping. And we get episode 1 tonight. I'm really excited about it. All right, what's next?
From Andy, one of two. Had to watch No Hard Feelings as I had a huge crush on J-Law when I was 18, 19, starting college. Watching it, I realized my parents didn't love me enough to hire J-Law to date my brains out.
I gotta tell you what,
Poor child. Oh my gosh. Andy, talk to your parents.
when I looked at like the announcement of that movie and that it was going to be kind of a little bit of a raunchy comedy and Jennifer Lawrence and the premise of it, I thought, this is going to be a throwaway one. I thought the trailer was really funny. I thought the movie was really good. I mean, I don't care what anybody else says. I laughed a lot watching that movie. I had a lot of good laughs. I mean, it wasn't Joyride or anything, but it had a lot of good laughs in it. It showed us a totally different side of Jennifer Lawrence, doing like really breaking out of her regular stereotype of the types of roles she plays. It made no money at the box office, but I thought it was a good fun film. All right, what's next?
From Seconds from Disaster, Kang doesn't seem like a big threat like Thanos did. All of phase 1 through 3, Thanos was looming over it and everyone feared his name. Nobody in the MCU really knows who Kang is, so his presence isn't felt yet.
I mean, that's true. That's why I said in one of my points that I made is that one of the things they absolutely have to accomplish, I believe, not just for the good of the show Loki, but also good for the MCU as a whole, is they've got to get moving on making Kang feel like a threat. Because I'm sorry, but Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania did not do it. You know, when Paul Rudd just goes in there and goes, boop, and you're gone, that doesn't do a lot to elevate that. So I really hope they're able to kind of make that work. All right, what's next?
From Zach, some support, and then Zach goes on to say, how do you guys see Punisher fit in the MCU?
I don't know if they can.
I was going to say, I don't.
Yeah,
Not right now.
really, I don't know if they can. Now, there's been talk and reports that, like so many of them, that there are a lot of people who just assume it's actually happening, that John Bernthal is going to be Punisher in Daredevil. That's never been confirmed by anybody official. I mean, the reports are all over the place, but I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm just saying, just be clear. Disney has never said John Bernthal is playing Punisher in the upcoming Daredevil. I don't know how, look, let's put it this way. There is no way to bring in John Bernthal's Punisher in a way that's going to satisfy people, because they're not going to let him be rated R. And people are not going to be happy if they bring in that Punisher and not make it rated R. So there's no win. There's no win here to be had. So, I mean, I don't know. I find it very difficult to find a way for them to do it, because like you can bring in a Punisher But if he's not splattering brains across the wall, a lot of people are going to get pissy and cry about it. So I don't see the win here. But anyway, that's just kind of my thought. All right, what's next?
From Miguel, no one will save you had no dialogue. Okay, I read it too intense because it was all in all caps.
I was just gonna let it go.
No one will save you had no dialogue. It was good.
I still have not seen it, but like Ray, you saw it, right?
Sorry. What?
No one will save you?
Oh yeah.
It's the horror alien thing.
Yeah.
And I remember you saw it and you said there's like practically no dialogue in it.
I really liked it. I mean, there's, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to spoil it.
They didn't either.
They didn't say anything either.
I don't want to spoil it, but I really liked it. I was talking with Robert Meyer Burnett afterwards. I was like, "Did you like it?" He liked it too. So,
Oh, yeah?
yeah.
I got to tell you, I never really cared to watch it until you guys told me that there's no dialogue. I thought, that's interesting. If you can tell a whole movie with no dialogue, that actually sounds really, really interesting to me. So that alone made me interested in seeing it.
And I also liked the fact that they just went into like the old school alien look. Just the old school alien look like we've all grown up to. Like, because sometimes they go beyond that. They'll make him bugs or birds or whatever it is. Like, when we're invaded by something. In Invasion, they look like sea urchins with limbs.
I'll never know.
Yeah. But it's nice to see the regular alien back.
Sort of
again.
like
the X-Files alien.
I was gonna say even like what was the M Night Signs?
Yes.
Very alien.
That was more like
With the fart
Chupacabra,
finger.
though, right? Like a
They look like
Chupacabra
aliens with
sort
the
of
big
hybrid.
eyes.
It's kind of weird. It looked
Yeah.
like it had mange, maybe. How scary is it, though? Like, will I be able to watch it?
There's some parts in it where I'm like, it's just tense.
Okay.
Like, I mean, come on, it's a girl by herself in a dark house,
Yeah.
whatever. And then the aliens come. They do some weird stuff, but
All right.
it's great.
We need to move on
should
here.
see
What's next?
From Alex Mata. Jason Blum said in an interview that the sale to Peacock and theaters, FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's, has made more than the production budget. Is box office now purely profit?
No. Because production budget is only one part of it. Then you take the marketing campaign, then you got to subtract everything. So no, it's not now profitable. Somebody wrote into me and said that they're forecasting $35 to $45 million opening weekend for it, which I got to admit, that's stunning to me. That really shocked me. I thought it would be much lower. So I still don't have any faith in this movie because they're doing it day and date release on Peacock and in theaters. And whenever Peacock's done that, it's been awful. So I don't have any faith in it, but I hope it's good.
It opens up on the 27th.
Yeah, fingers
right
crossed.
before Halloween, so it's a good time to bring that to the theaters.
All right, let's get over now to our YouTube channel members, shall we? What do we got up in there?
From Naftalkader, sorry if I butchered your name. What happened to Kathleen Kennedy stepping down from Lucasfilm? Have you heard anything?
I just heard it would be before the end of the year, which means there's still 3 months before that happens. I said, remember when I first talked about it at the beginning or at near the end of 2022, I think it was, I said it could be any time from 4 or 5 weeks after Indiana Jones to December 31st. Like it could be anywhere in there. I still fully expect that she's going to be gone by the end of December. And look, anything can happen behind the scenes. Maybe she won't, but from what I understand, it's going to be by the end of the year. All right, what's next?
From Spying Mentier. Thoughts on the newly announced Martin Luther King Jr. biopic film directed by Chris Rock?
I did not hear about that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Me either.
But I mean, look, it's one of the most important figures in history. So anything by that, Chris Rock doing it is a really interesting.
Yeah, that's really
choice.
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was directing.
Yeah, I didn't know he was directing either. All right, what's next?
Here we go.
From CJ Rebirth. Watched Game Night with Rachel McAdams and Jason
Love
Bateman.
that movie.
I thought it was great. Reminded me a bit of Horrible Bosses.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect to see Jesse Plemons or the Dexter actor.
Tell you what, Jesse Plemons kills it in this movie. By the end of that movie, I adored him. This was a funny movie. And you know what? The guys who did it, they were supposed to be directing Flash until them and Ezra Miller had creative differences and the studio decided to side with Ezra Miller. And they were supposed to, I think these guys are great. These are also the same guys who did Dungeons and Dragons. And I love the new Dungeons and Dragons, not the old one. And I loved that Dungeons and Dragons movie.
So good.
Despite the fact that it completely flopped, it was wonderful. I really like those guys a lot. And Game Night's a really good movie. All right, what's next?
From JCSC, question for Chris if she's in. I am. Why do actors register under unique names, and do those registrations ever expire? Oh, this is such a good question for me because I ignored SAG and I shouldn't have. So we register under unique names mostly because you don't want to get your checks confused with other people. That's really the biggest thing, is the billing issue of checks, credits, etc. going to other people. So for example, my name is Chris Carr. I have gone by Chris my entire life. I do not want to change that name. I'm married. I'm not taking that name because Chris Pete's sounds like something you eat when you're stoned and you regret it. Chris Carr is a superhero. But there is another Chris Carr in the world, crazy, sexy cancer Chris Carr. The reason why many of you have asked, wow, Chris looks really great for her 50s. What is she doing? I'm not that woman. She's blonde. She's healthy. Very different.
You're not healthy?
I'm not healthy. I'm barely hanging on here, you guys. She like juices and stuff, and I'm going to go to Lazy Dog and eat something fried after this.
Nice.
So she was an actress at one point. She no longer is, but she's still registered with SAG. So when I joined, they really cautioned me to change my name. And part of that was because there's sometimes been issues with my residual checks. And a lot of times things like IMDb and stuff will credit her instead of me because she's Chris Carr the first, whereas I'm the second. So usually it's just because somebody else has your name. You can move forward like I did, keeping your name, but most people end up changing theirs for lack of
Can you do
confusion.
something like Chris M. Carr or something
I
like
could,
that?
yeah. My mom really wanted me to, well, as you guys know, my drunk persona is Chrissy Denizio.
Yeah.
And she really wanted me to be Chris Denizio or Chris McCullough because her mom's name was Denizio, my grandpa's name was McCullough, and neither of those work for me.
All right. What's
That's why.
next?
From Mr. Hank Dunn, another actor on here. You know, as someone for 24 years who has been very adamant about disliking football, gotta say the Bills are pretty cool.
They are playing a high caliber, unstoppable, very entertaining brand of football right now. The way they went in and just dominated Miami after Miami put up a 70 burger. First time ever put up a 70 burger the week before they came in. Josh Allen, who by the way is dating. Everybody's talking about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, but Haley Steinfeld's been dating Josh Allen for a while. And Josh Allen is ripping it up. He's putting up MVP numbers right now. So yeah, they're a fun team to watch. All right, what's next?
From Deja Vu, Game Day.
Game Day.
Exorcist.
didn't go
you
on.
guys were on there. Exorcist, Believer, Gen V, and Loki. Avoiding Exorcist reviews like The Plague, so I can go in as untainted as possible.
I gotta say, you're the first person I've heard who's taken Exorcists that seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wouldn't see it.
Do you think they get possessed?
I'm interested in it. I mean, I think the trailers for Exorcist has been really creepy, especially with the little girls
They've
and
been
everything.
very creepy. What?
Like very creepy.
I hate that they're like, let's make it 2 people.
Yeah.
Was Linda Blair not enough for you? 2 of them now. Get out of here.
Well, my problem
No.
with that again is just that it's the member berries thing. It's like, oh, let's like lean on nostalgia and bring the mom back from the first movie. I don't
That's
know.
fair.
All right, what's
It
next?
scares me too
Double fun.
much.
Triple
From
pleasure.
Gray Fox 40. Hi, John and crew. Do you have any theories or expectations going into Loki season 2?
Nope, I don't like doing that. Like I said, even when you go back to the 5 things I listed, those aren't story things. Like Loki needs to do
Clever
this and Sylvie needs to do that. No. I don't play that game. But I mean, philosophically, principles that I hope they follow, whatever their story is. I'm just saying that my expectations have raised, even though my expectations for the longest time haven't been all that high. I'm feeling the hype for it now. I'm going in with some higher expectations. So and I'm going to be in a good mood because I think Gen V drops first. Gen V drops at
5 o'clock.
5,
Yeah.
and then Loki drops at 6. So hopefully I'm going to be in a real hype mood after watching an episode of Gen V, and then we'll go from there. But I'm excited. All right, what's next?
Mobius will get on a jet ski.
Hell yeah, Mobius.
Jay Superboy. Hey, John.
Why?
Just playing Baldur's Gate 3
No, I love-
as the Dark Urge, and it's very interesting. Keep it filthy.
I don't think I'll do like I'm gonna when I am done with Baldur's Gate 3, I'm gonna do another playthrough with a new character, but I don't think I'm gonna do Dark Urge. I don't know. It's just the thing about me. I like playing the good guy. So like even whenever I play any Star Wars games and you have a option of being a Jedi or Sith, I always choose Jedi.
Lame.
It's the better
Oh, what
way.
a Boy Scout. Oh, my
So
God.
yeah, but I mean, I didn't play a
Cutting.
paladin or anything like that in this one. I actually played a barbarian my first time through, so he's a little bit more middle of the road. But I love this game. I mean, I think it might be the best game ever made. I mean, it's just absolutely insanely good.
Can I explain something real quick? When I said hell yeah, Mobius, Jonathan said Are you high?
I stopped
I'm
and was like, are you high?
It's because okay, I need to point
It's
this
like
out.
out of nowhere. He's
I
like,
need to
hell
point this
yeah,
out. I need to point this out.
Mobius.
Owen Wilson in the show in Loki season 1, he was great, and that's who I'm looking forward to
I think it was the first time we
watching
mentioned Mobius
season 2.
today.
I just think he plays his character really great.
He does.
I love Mobius.
He's wonderful in it.
Yeah, so that's the only reason why I said hell yeah, Mobius, because it popped in my head. I was like, I really like Owen Wilson as this guy, and that will give me a
Wow.
reason to watch it.
All right, let's do one last question today. What's the last
Okay.
one today?
From Dildar, not the glorious today, just
Nah,
no.
he had some blows.
just small
Dildar, the
Dildar.
glorious.
Aw.
What's up, guys? Went to my local con recently and got to meet Steve Bloom. He signed my copy of Cowboy Bebop. It was really cool. I wanted to meet Zoe Saldana, but her autograph was $200. Why do some celebrities make it expensive? Is it based on popularity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I have no idea who Steve Bloom is.
He's the voice of Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop. He is a incredible voice actor who's done tons and tons of other things, but that is the thing that he's predominantly known for. I also have a signed copy of the Cowboy Bebop DVD from him.
As far as the signatures and the cost of them, number one, I think at a lot of these conventions, I don't think the actor sets the price. I think the convention sets the price.
Oh.
You know, I think the actor will tell the convention, sure, I'll come for the weekend for $15,000. I'll come there for Saturday, Sunday. And then the convention sets the price of what the autographs are. So that way, if, 100 people get autographs or 1,000 people get autographs, it's the actor is getting their flat rate. They're getting their money, regardless of that. So, but now in the other cases, then yeah, it's supply and demand. Because look, if Zoe Saldana shows up and is doing autographs for $10, well then 95% of the people who want to go and get her autograph that day are never going to get the chance to do it because the lines are going to be way too big. They'll never be able to get to it. So it's supply and demand, right? If we do it 50, is everybody going to be able to get it? No. Okay. How about 100, 200? And I guarantee you, at $200, the Zoe Saldana photos and autographs are going to sell out.
I guarantee you that 90% of it is going to be Funko Pops that are going to be signed.
Probably.
Well, not just that, but a lot of what is going to be signed, you're paying $200 for. They're turning it around to sell it. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a, so it's a business.
These people, no, not sometimes. I'd say the majority of the time.
But I like
Because
to think
I've
there's
been to
real
some of
fans.
these things too. Like you can just tell, like, it's one thing when somebody shows up and it's like, this is my prize. Can you sign it? And they're going to hold it
Yeah.
and treasure it forever. But a lot of these people, no, this is just business. I'm going to get an
Business.
autographed this, and this, and I'm
Business.
going to hop on eBay and I'm going to sell it for this.
Exactly.
We've been to things where we'd be in line for autographs and like literally they would bring a box with like 30 things in it, where then they have to get somebody at the front and say, guys, just so you know, you can have one thing autographed or whatever. Because literally, I've seen people show up with boxes
They're live
that
streaming
they
on
want to get
eBay.
everything, like all the stuff signed.
In
and-
sports or fandom, or
Yeah.
still fandom, but in sports and like pop culture, dude, they could be jerks. They like push the kids aside because they're trying to get
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
their. It's like, I get you're trying to make a buck, but don't be a jerk
I forget
about it.
which musician it was. You might know because this went around on the internet where someone came up to a guy, like was waiting for this musician at the airport with some like copies of his vinyls and just wanted him to sign them and didn't want them personalized. And the musician was like, name one of my songs. Name
Yeah.
one of my songs. He was like, I can't
Yeah.
believe you would do that. I can't believe you'd come at
To
me
a
like
real
that.
fan.
I've got all your albums here. And he was like, yeah, you've got all my albums. Like, sing one of my songs.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think
That's
that was the way to
good.
go because when someone says, no, don't personalize it, that makes me a little suspicious.
Yeah. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all of you guys who sent in the Super Chat questions and our YouTube channel members for giving us great fun things to talk about and for supporting what we do here. Don't forget, guys, we're going to be back again tomorrow. Make sure you come back and join us. And tonight, watch Gen V, watch Loki Season 1, because we're going to talk about them tomorrow. So make sure you guys are caught up. I want to thank the people in the room. We got Ray Ora,
Game day.
Jonathan Voico,
Mobius!
and Chris Carr.
I won't be here tomorrow. I'll miss you.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.